This ex-Marine was intentionally hit by a police car. Before he could react, they pinned him to the ground. 2 officers started searching his bag and found a stack of cash. "That's a lot of cash you got on you. It's not illegal, but drug currency is illegal." "No, for my cousin, but it's mine. I'm posting his bail." Despite their questioning, Terry stayed calm, answering whatever they asked. In the end, the cops claimed the money was illegal and confiscated it. But Terry was forced to reach the courthouse before 5 p.m. to save his cousin. He explained he'd sold his car and part of his restaurant shares to gather $36,000. "You can check my account if you don't believe me," he said. The officers responded, "You'll get a letter saying you're being sued for this amount since we think it's illegal. If you push back, I'll have a warrant to throw you in jail." Is all money from people of color illegal? No matter how good Terry's intentions are, he can't stand the nonsense from these 2 cops. He went to court and consulted a lawyer named Summer. She said this is called asset forfeiture under the guise of helping the federal investigation take down the drug cartel. But they couldn't find any cartel, so just suspecting him was enough. Summer also said the police chef could keep the seized money and turn it into a slush fund. Even if Terry goes to court, it'll take at least 6 months and he'll have to pay double for a lawyer. It seems like a dead end, but bail is still urgent. If his cousin gets transferred to a different prison, it'll be a huge mess. Terry's cousin, Mike, got busted due to his ties with the drug trade. Mike was a witness in a murder case, and the person he helped had a high rank in the gang. If Mike is transferred to a state prison, he'll definitely be targeted for revenge. That's why Terry is in a rush to bail Mike out. The transfer is set for Thursday, so Terry still has some time to gather the money. The bail money needed is $10,000. Terry called Mr. Liu from Kinlong Restaurant. Since there are no banks in Terry's town, Mr. Liu asked Terry to send the money via postal service to his account, and he'd gather the funds. Terry was completely unaware that he was caught in a scheme. The next morning, Terry went to Selby Police Station to report that 2 cops had robbed him. "You'll need to leave. I want to file this report." "A false police report? Just sign here. That's a felony." At this point, the police chief of Shelby Springs arrived and accused Terry of evading law enforcement. The chief then went through Terry's phone, forced him to delete the recordings, and warned him to leave or face charges. Terry saw the true colors of the police station and decided to drop his protest, just wanting to get the $10,000 bail money back. The remaining amount could be considered a donation to the police fund. The police chief's attitude shifted. He told Terry to return at 9 a.m. Monday and visit his brother before handling the money. With no money left, Terry camped in the woods overnight. When he arrived at the station Monday, he learned the prisoner transport had left just 3 minutes earlier. Terry quickly took a shortcut to chase it down. Luckily, the transport vehicle hadn't gone far. Terry spotted Mike and told him to quickly request local detention. Mike, unaware of the danger, thought he'd be out soon. To make matters worse, Mr. Liu was also in trouble. He said 6 cops with a search warrant had seized the safe from the restaurant and even brought a K-9 unit. Terry's statement had dragged the restaurant into the mess. Now, Mr. Liu couldn't even pay his staff, let alone lend Terry money. With no other options, Terry turned to Summer for help. "I need this job. You need to leave, preferably through the back door." Terry, both worried and frustrated, was surprised when Summer chased after him. It turned out she was just playing a part to mislead. During this time, Summer had noticed that several cases with high bail amounts were being postponed, which was unusual for minor offenses. After work, she'd give Terry some documents but could only help so much, as she had to care for her daughter and couldn't risk her job. Besides investigating who's behind him, Terry also needs to quickly gather $10,000. Meanwhile, the police chief looked into Terry's military background and found he mainly served as an MCMAP instructor. The police station didn't know what that entailed, but saw a note saying Terry had never been deployed overseas, meaning he lacked real combat experience. The police chief dismissed him, viewing Terry as insignificant. As soon as he finished speaking, Terry arrived at the police station, stating that his previous offer still stood, to get the $10,000 back and resolve things amicably. However, the police chief told him not to negotiate conditions in front of his subordinates. "I won't give you a dime. You've pushed me to the edge and blocked my way. So what?" Inside the station, a female officer found that MCMAP stands for the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, covering close combat and hand-to-hand fighting. Terry was an instructor in the Marine Corps' 6th Regiment. The officers quickly called the police chief back. Terry quickly disarmed the police chief and took control. Despite being threatened with a gun, he overpowered the officer and removed the bullets. He forced the police chief into the station. Seeing more officers inside, Terry ordered the remaining one out, had her drop her gun, and cuffed both the chief and the officer. He then unplugged the surveillance camera, found the keys, and had the female officer open the evidence room. There, he found cash and weapons exceeding regulations. He took $10,000 and kept his word. Next, Terry faced the issue of leaving. The patrol team had returned and was all focused outside. To avoid gunfire, he removed all the bullets and hoped the female officer would cooperate. She pretended to escort him to the police car. Once safe, Terry returned her unloaded gun, handcuffed her to the steering wheel, and left the keys half a mile away at a marked spot. Terry evaded the police and reached the courthouse, posting the $10,000 bail. Summer helped him get the paperwork signed. Terry anxiously watched the entrances, needing to file the documents before the police arrived. Will they take him to prison? That's your plan? I don't have a plan. Get on the ground, now. The police arrived and stunned Terry with a taser. Fortunately, he had removed the wires in time, so he wasn't severely injured. When Terry woke up, he found himself in a police car. The police chief asked what he had seen in the evidence room. Terry replied, I saw a pile of cash and a gun cabinet. The police chief gave a bunch of excuses to cover up the assets, claiming that higher-ups pushed for reform but didn't want to fund it. The station not only had to budget for itself but also had to find ways to make money. There were 6 towns in the area, and only this one had its own police force, receiving 600 calls a year. The evidence room mainly held weapons and explosives, which the chief sold to other stations for profit, making it a long-term scheme. The police chief told Terry this to negotiate with him. As he finished speaking, they stopped in front of Samaritan Hospital Center. The chief said that right after the bail paperwork was completed, Terry's brother was stabbed in prison and brought to this hospital. The chief gave Terry 2 choices: take the money and stay silent, part ways, or face a 3-year prison sentence. If Terry agreed, he had to buy a pickup truck by tonight as a sign of acceptance. Just then, the governor's helicopter appeared. Mike didn't survive the crisis, and his death left Terry hopeless. Summer arrived with the news, bringing along some documents. There were dozens of cases similar to Mike's, where police detained minor offenders, charged exorbitant bail amounts, and held them for 90 days before releasing them. Terry cut Summer off, saying he was disgusted with the corrupt system. He had only gotten involved to save Mike, and now it was too late for anything. While they were talking, they had already left Aurora. The cop car tailing them turned back. Terry thanked Summer for her help and gave her his number. You here for the dually? I am. Well, let me show you around then. That night, Summer felt a sharp pain in her arm and saw a shadow outside. After they left, she staggered into the bathroom and found a bloody syringe on the sink. There was also a needle mark on her arm. Panicked, she grabbed her phone but noticed a cop car sticker on the fridge. She quickly called Terry. Terry, I'm in trouble. He rushed over right away. Summer was soaking in cold water, too scared to go to the hospital. If the drugs showed up in her records, she could lose custody of her kid, and maybe even her license. Summer didn't want her ex to have dirt on her, so she dropped the investigation and went back to work. But the court ordered a drug test. She hid in the bathroom, crying, feeling helpless. At the same time, as Terry was about to leave, a cop car signaled him to pull over. Then 2 more police cars showed up nearby, with their lights off. I'm not coming back here, Terry said. This isn't the first time you've said that. Framing Terry was too easy. His fingerprints were all over the property room. He had figured out something was off with the convoy. Not bad, sharp eyes, the cops said, then fired at Terry. It turned out that as soon as the cop cars turned on their lights, the dash cams would start recording. So when they surrounded Terry, they switched them off to prevent his escape. Terry jumped in his car and took off, dodging gunfire from behind as he sped down to the foot of the bridge and climbed up onto it. Next, Terry got a call from Summer. She said a friend at the precinct warned him to get out of town fast. Terry wrote down an address for her, Ken Long Restaurant. When they met up there, Mr. Liu was helping Terry with his gunshot wound. Mr. Liu had served as a medic during the Korean War. Thank you for your service to the country. He's Chinese, on the other side of the line. The atmosphere turned tense, but Terry reassured Summer not to worry. The cops wouldn't overstep while protecting their dirty assets. The police chief was trying to trap him, and Terry resolved to stop hiding. He would take matters into his own hands and expose them to avenge Mike. Summer's documents revealed the police chief had manipulated detention times, with the court having the final say. The judge could raise fines at will. Terry left money with Mr. Liu before leaving. The cops warned Summer to get out of town, and her ex-husband had tipped them off. Terry thought her ex-husband knew something, so he sought him out. The ex was scared to get involved and just warned Summer to be careful around the Shelby precinct. To find the mastermind, he suggested they ask the judge. Terry and Summer snuck into the judge's house for answers. He revealed a police raid years ago led to a defendant's death, nearly bankrupting the town. The police chief didn't want to take responsibility, while higher-ups pressured the judge to finish reforms within a year. To make money, the police chief started detaining minor offenders and seizing the judge's assets to force court cooperation. The police chief's funds were used for salaries and public projects, leading organizations to turn a blind eye. The town was too weak to resist, letting the police keep defendants locked up until bail was paid. Summer didn't understand why every detention was 90 days. The court had all the dashcam footage, and the police couldn't access or alter it. If there was no special request within 90 days, the videos would automatically delete, which is why the police held defendants for that long. What's in Mike's video? Enough to get us sued. Terry and Summer rushed to find the memory card in the courthouse basement, breaking a window to get in. The dark, eerie space was soon filled with voices and the smell of gasoline, followed by flames. Someone was trying to destroy the evidence. They needed to find the crucial card before the fire consumed everything. Just in time, Summer found Mike's card, and they quickly left the basement together. Summer suddenly remembered something. She told Terry to start the car while she grabbed her urine sample from the office. They agreed to meet in the car. But before she could leave, the security guard spotted her. Terry hid in the car and quickly saw Summer being taken away in a police car. He immediately drove after them. Once the other cars left, Terry slammed on the gas and crashed into the police car. Terry pulled the cop out, cuffed him, and demanded to know where Summer was, but he didn't know. Using the radio, Terry warned their superior, "I have a 64 gigabytes memory card. Touch Summer, and I'll release it." They agreed to meet. The next morning, cops brought Summer to the spot, with a team in ambush, but Terry never showed. Terry called the police chief, saying he had made many concessions, but now he was at his breaking point. While they spoke, the police discovered Terry's car, but inside was not him. It was a poor officer, bound and gagged. Terry was behind the police station when he slammed on the gas, crashing through the wall and breaking a water pipe. The police, alerted, rushed to take Summer back. Terry quickly shot the police chief and handed the memory card to the female officer, knowing she was righteous and a good friend of Summer's. As the police arrived, Terry, in a bulletproof vest, poured gasoline over a pile of cash. The female officer aimed her gun at him, saying they had successfully captured the suspect and no one was to shoot. "No one dies today. We'll find a safe place to deal with this." The female officer took Terry outside and gave the memory card to another officer, who threw it down and stomped on it, saying Summer had fainted from a drug overdose. At that moment, there was a split in the police ranks. Some believed they should just detain Terry and take Summer to the hospital, while others wanted to kill Summer instead of sending her for treatment. As the argument heated up, the police chief shot one officer in the leg and warned the others not to turn on each other. While they were distracted, Terry grabbed the bag and pulled the injured officer behind the police car, then tossed smoke grenades. The officer shouted that naloxone was in the car for Summer and reminded him to turn on the dashcam. Terry stopped the officer's bleeding and approached Summer's car through the smoke. To avoid detection, Terry dropped his gun and fought the police officers blocking his way. He easily took down one officer, punching him repeatedly. Then he jumped into the car and activated the dashcam. He quickly drove to the injured officer, administered naloxone to Summer, and pulled the officer into the vehicle. The officer lunged at Terry, but his gun jammed. Terry quickly drove away, while the officer clung to the vehicle, almost getting inside. Summer managed to push him out just in time. The police chief sent others to pursue him. Terry's car had a flat tire and couldn't go far. The corrupt officers had set up their deaths, but then the female officer had a change of heart. She crashed into the police chief's car, giving Terry a chance to escape and contact state police. At least with a third party involved, Terry wouldn't die in the vehicle. In the end, the state police arrested the chief, Summer, and the injured officer was taken to the hospital. Terry secured the dashcam tightly in his hand. The movie ends here, and the title is Rebel Ridge. What did you think of the movie? Feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.